The Lakers 2021 NBA season is over after Devin Booker just shot the lights out of Staples Center in Game 6, scoring off 47 points. So yeah, the Lakers 2021 season has now come to an end. There'll be no repeating this year, and there's many reasons for that. You got injuries high up the priority list. You might blame Rob Pelinka, you might blame Coach Vogel, you might blame LeBron AD, you might blame Kyle Kuzma and Dennis Schroeder. But in this video, we're going to look at all these different factors as to why they didn't win this year, or even get out of the first round this year after losing to Phoenix in 6. So the first one, of course, let's get out of the way early, injuries. Now injuries, I've never seen a team get so many injuries in one season. The Lakers, they started the season off with a 22 or 21-7 record to start the season. So very, very good, looking strong. And then AD got injured versus the Denver Nuggets in game 28-29, and everything went downhill from there. Well, not straight away. AD though, he did miss 30 plus games after that injury against Denver, and then things went downhill for a bit, but they recovered, and the Lakers got themselves to a 3 or 4 seed at around February, March. And then LeBron, he was playing like an MVP at that stage. They played the Hornets and he got 36 points against LaMelo Ball, and the Hornets doing very well at the time, and LeBron's looking like the MVP of the league. And then they played the Atlanta Hawks, I think in March. LeBron, high ankle sprain, missed 2 to 3 months. But it felt like that anyway. And it kind of went downhill from there. The Lakers then slipped to the 7th seed. They were really struggling. AD came back for a while, but he's still getting his fitness under him. The Lakers' injuries just killed him. From a potential top 4 seed to the 7th seed, where they played the Warriors in the play-in tournament, which they won, and that brought us to the Phoenix Suns series, where everyone was healthy to start, and then KCP went down with a knee contusion, then AD went down, changed the series. AD practically won the Lakers game 2 and 3. Game 4 then, he got the groin injury, and it went downhill from there. Missed game 5, got blown out, tried to play game 6, clearly wasn't fit, came off, and the Lakers ended up losing that game. They're losing by a lot. They brought it back to single digits, and then they got eliminated. So Lakers injuries definitely didn't happen this year. LeBron and AD, the team is built around them, and 2 of them missed massive chunks of the season. So that's one reason as to why it didn't repeat, didn't get the continuity together. But there's many other reasons. You could blame Rob Pelinka, the man who makes all the moves in the off seasons. Even though people says LeBron does it, LeBron let his say, but Rob is the main man for this kind of stuff. And Pelinka, he let go of 4 key pieces of the 2020 championship squad. He let go of Danny Green, Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee. He brought in Dennis Schroeder, Wes Matthews, Marc Gasol, and Montrezl Harrell. Now, he did bring in Andre Drummond and Ben McLemore in the buyout market, but in the 2020 offseason, these are the 4 players he brought in and let go. Now, on paper, this team's improved, but the chemistry definitely took a hit. JaVale McGee, if you saw his YouTube channel in the bubble, the chemistry was sky high. Everyone loved each other. Everyone's getting along, and of course they won the NBA championship. This year, injuries, COVID has stopped that kind of stuff. This team didn't get that much time together on the court anyway. Don't know about off the court. I know AD was streaming GTA with Dennis Schroeder, so maybe they got on well. But it is, from the outside looking in, it looks like the 2020 team had better chemistry. I agreed with the Dennis Schroeder for Danny Green trade. Danny Green, even though I kind of miss him right now, something about that team. You knew the 2020 team wasn't the best team, but there's something about him that you liked. And Danny Green, even though it's shooting bricks, I kind of miss him. But I agree with the trade for Dennis Schroeder. Green was making $15 million on an expiring contract. He was pretty poor last year, so I agreed with that trade. Rondo wanted $15 million for 2 years at 35 years old, so I also agreed to let him go, especially bringing in Dennis Schroeder. I thought he could replace Rondo, so I thought, I would love to keep Rondo, but I didn't. I agreed letting him walk. He's gonna make $15 million for 2 years. They also included JaVale McGee as part of the Marc Gasol deal, which I didn't hate because I thought we'd keep Dwight. Then you'd have Dwight and Gasol as your centers with AD as well. So JaVale, I'd love to keep him, but I didn't hate it because I prefer Dwight, and Gasol could stretch the floor for you, bring a bit of passing, and so yeah, I didn't hate that deal either. But it was letting Dwight Howard walk to Philly on a veteran minimum, which I didn't like. Dwight was one of my favourite players on the 2020 NBA championship team, and he was a big part of the team, big part of the locker room and on the court as well. He knew his role when he played it very well, grabbed rebounds, catch lobs, played a bit of defense. He did his role very, very well. He knew his role and he stuck to it. And even when he was a sub and didn't play, when he's on the bench, he's brought the energy from the bench as well. So I think Dwight was a big loss, especially losing on a veteran minimum. Could have easily kept him. So that was one mistake Rob made. Bringing in Montrezl Harrell, I love that move. Probably the most exciting, probably the best move of the off season. Trez, 6th man of the year he was in 2020. I thought he'd been he made a big impact this team. He did during the regular season, but Vogel didn't use him in the postseason. I don't know if it was Matthews, just kind of reminds me of Danny Green. Plays defense, not very good at 3-pointers anymore. Now, another thing that Rob Pelinka didn't do was he didn't pull the trigger on the Kyle Lowry trade. Toronto wanted Dennis Schroeder, KCP and THT. The Lakers were not willing to give up THT, and I don't think it would have made a big difference. I don't think Kyle Lowry would have got us through. But if you look at it, Dennis Schroeder stunk out the playoffs this year. KCP was injured for half the playoffs in round 1, and he was shooting bricks in all the games except for game 6. And THT didn't get used for most of the playoffs except for game 6. So it makes you think, could they have done any worse if they had Kyle Lowry on their team? A reliable third man, brings some scoring, a fighter, experience, who's been there and done it. But the only thing is Kyle Lowry would have wanted a 2-year $50 million deal. So are you willing to commit to Kyle Lowry for 2 more years at 35 years old? Clearly the Lakers weren't, and Pelinka didn't pull the trigger in that trade, which I don't think would have made a big difference anyway. But I think he could definitely been better than Dennis Schroeder as our point guard. And as I said, he brought in Drummond and Ben McLemore in the buyout market, which I think was very good. Two of the best buyout targets you would have got on the market, but they never had time to settle in because Edmund was injured, shortened season, and it was too little too late for Drummond and McLemore. So 2021 off season for the Lakers, that's a whole different video for a couple of weeks away. But just to look at it quickly, you've got a hell of a lot of free agents. You've got Alex Caruso, I think is #1 free agent. You got to focus on bringing back. You've got Dennis Schroeder. What you want to do with him? You got THT. You got Montrezl Harrell. You got Andre Drummond. You got Ben McLemore, Markieff Morris, Jared Dudley. You think film what you want, and then you got Wes Matthews. And then players that are locked in at the moment. You got LeBron, obviously, AD, Kyle Kuzma. He's making $13 million from next season on. You got KCP. Anyone's got Marc Gasol, who's in for 1 more year. So, what do they do this off season? Quickly, just looking at, I think re-signing Alex Caruso has to be the #1 aim of this off season. I think he's crucial to the team. He accepts his role. He likes his role, not being the main man. Play very good defense. Improving your 3-point shooting, of course, on the offensive side. But I think he's become a better ball handler over this year. So I think Caruso has to be the #1 priority in bringing back. You also got THT. Now I think because they wouldn't pull the trigger on the Kyle Lowry trade because of THT, I think you gotta lock into this guy, trust this guy, give him $10 million or whatever he wants this off season, and even use him as a trade piece because loads of teams in the NBA like him. So even if you don't see him as a piece moving forward, lock him in, get a good salary on him, and then move him on if a superstar comes available in the future. Then you got Dennis Schroeder. Now, me personally, I'm done with Schroeder. I kind of want him to go. Disappointed massively in the playoffs, getting 0 points in Game 5. I know he had good games. He had 20 points in Game 6. He had also 24 points in Game 3. But no, not for me. Dennis Schroeder hasn't been good enough this year. Regular season, he was okay regular season, but this guy was the 2nd or 3rd 6th man of the year voting last year. He's taken a step back this year. 3-point shootings fell off. Rumour is that he wants to stay, but he will not be getting the $100 million that he wants, I think. He turned down 4 years, $84 million or something like that. He's not getting that. I think find 4 years, $18 million a year, which is what, $72 million maybe. Because the only thing about keeping Dennis Schroeder is, which I wouldn't mind too much, is you can move him. If you can give him $18 million for 4 years, that's a contract you can move for a superstar. Everyone thought with Damian Lillard at the moment. If you could possibly get Damian Lillard, you got $18 million right there in a Dennis Schroeder salary if you re-sign him for that. So I wouldn't mind if you re-sign him and then moved him on in the future. They could also do a sign and trade with him with another team. You could do a double sign and trade. Dennis Schroeder for Lonzo Ball, that'd be crazy. But me personally, I don't really like Dennis Schroeder. I don't think he's good enough. But if they re-sign him, at least have a big contract on the books that you can move. And best case scenario, he re-signs and he turns into a great point guard. Who knows? Then you've also got Montrezl Harrell, who I personally really like, but the way he's been treated this offseason, Vogel wouldn't play him. I think he's going to opt out of his $9 million deal. I'd love to keep him, but I think he's going to leave and move on somewhere else, get more money. You got Andre Drummond. Now I personally like Drummond, and it's been tricky for Drummond. He came in mid-season. LeBron and AD are injured. He gets played them very limited times. It's not easy for Drummond to come in that kind of situation. He came in, he might be the saviour of the team when LeBron and AD were injured, and he did well. I mean, like against Brooklyn, did very well. Utah, he's shown potential. If there's any way to keep him, I would. I wouldn't go. If they can find a deal for him, I keep him, but I wouldn't go spending the taxpayers' allowance, which is like $5 million or whatever. I wouldn't go spending that on Drummond. If they can find an agreement with him, great. If they can't, I'm sure we'll find another centre out there to replace him. I think Dwight Howard's even free agent this offseason, so maybe bring back Dwight for a third time. I don't know. Ben McLemore, the Lakers need 3-point shooting. They're terrible at 3-point shooting. So Ben McLemore, if they bring him back, I won't hate it. Markieff Morris. Now, people are getting sick of Keith Morris now at this stage, but I think Keith, we can't forget what he did in the regular season when AD was injured. He was starting power forward, and he did unbelievably. I think he started like 27 games, and he was crucial until he got the injury against the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden, and he injured his ankle, and he's never been the same since. But let's not have short memories here. Let's remember how good he was in the regular season. In that Knicks game, actually, he scored like 17 points. He was unbelievable in that Brooklyn game. Many games he stepped up massively. His 3-point shooting has fallen off a cliff ever since the Knicks game when he got injured. But let's not give up on him. He's a big locker room presence. He's one of the leaders in there. And I think, on a nice, easy salary, veteran minimum or whatever, hold on to him if you can. Because, you're going to need people like Keith Morris. Let's give him a chance. I wouldn't mind keeping him. If you let him go, I'm not going to cry or anything. I'll get over it. He can be replaced, but he's not a bad player, Keith Morris, and I wouldn't go writing him off just yet. Jared Dudley, listen, people want to get rid of Jared Dudley. I don't know why, because he's the 15th man on the roster. What's he going to do? He doesn't play, he never plays. Dudley was actually one of the players who got injured this season for like 10 weeks, which I don't know how, because he doesn't play. But, I just like Jared Dudley, keep him on the team. Let him be that 15th man, let him be his number one cheerleader, whatever you want to call him. I don't see the harm of keeping Jared Dudley for his experience. You're not going to use 15 men in playoffs. You're going to use a 10-man rotation maximum, if everyone's healthy, of course, which it wasn't. This year, if you think of it this year, every NBA champion has like a saying. You remember the Warriors, strength in numbers. The Lakers was, if healthy. Never got healthy. But Jared Dudley, I don't see any harm keeping him around as the 15th man. If we lose him, we lose him. But I don't see any, either way, I don't see any harm keeping him or losing him. Wes Matthews, I think we let him walk. He's 34 years old. He came good near the end of the season, but he's 34. He's had his injury problems. His 3-point shooting has fallen off this year compared to other years. He plays good defense, but he's getting older. He's on 3.6 million this year. I don't know. Surely we can do better than Wes Matthews. I don't know. Have to wait and see. Then you got Kyle Kuzma, who I think he got a trade. I think the Lakers are going to trade him. I think he got to trade him. He's got to go. KCP, I don't believe it. Game 6. He's just inconsistent. Like Kuzma. Kuzma got 22 points in Game 5, I think. And then 0 in Game 6. Too inconsistent. KCP, the same, very inconsistent. If there's a trade for a superstar, you throw these two guys in there for salaries, and you might get there. As for Marc Gasol, he's had an up and down season. Fans were sick of him, then they liked him, now they're kind of sick of him again. Marc Gasol's a strange one. I don't know what to do with Marc Gasol. Is there any harm keeping him for one more season? I don't know. That's for a different video where we go more in depth. But as of now, he's locked in until the 2022 season. The Lakers, they got some good trade pieces if a third star does become available. As I say, Kyle Kuzma's earning 13 million, KCP's earning 12 million. If they re-sign Dennis Schroeder or sign and trade him, there's some money there. If you sign Caruso and Taylor Norton-Tucker for $10 million deals around that, they could be trade pieces if a team wants them. And then you've got the 2021 number 22 pick in this year's draft, which we have. So you could also trade that if necessary, if a third star that comes available and you want to trade for him, which I think the Lakers should definitely go for, because we can't have a repeat of this year where both LeBron and AD are injured and you got no one else to carry the offense. But then, so that's Pelinka, that's the off season. Obviously we can go more in depth in the off season later during the summer, But yeah, that's that. And then on to Coach Vogel then. Now I don't think Vogel should be fired for this season. People are sick of him, and I get it. He put out some very questionable lineups all season, but then the other side of that is we never had a fully healthy squad for most of the season. So how are you supposed to have a consistent lineup if everyone's goddamn injured? LeBron gets injured, AD keeps getting injured. How are you supposed to have a consistent lineup if everyone's injured? I didn't agree with Montrezl Harrell not getting any minutes at all in the playoffs. I thought you could do obviously the liability on the defensive end, but so is Marc Gasol. And Trez, he just brings energy. He's a fighter. I like Trez. I think I've got a bad feeling he's going to leave now because of this. But yeah, I think Rowe got that one wrong. He should have played Trez more. He also didn't play THT, which, you know, if you're not going to trade THT, if you're willing to give up Dennis Schroeder and KCP in a Kyle Lowry trade, but not THT, and you're not going to play THT in the playoffs, what's the point? You know, either play him, you either rate him or you don't, you know. So that, I found that weird. He also stuck with Kyle Kuzma way too long. As I said, way too inconsistent. He can score 22 points and then 0 next game. So he's got to go for sure. His time's up, I think. He played Marc Gasol a lot, you know. Marc Gasol, as I said, he had a weird season, you know. People hated him, loved him, hated him again. So he also played him, sucked at him a bit too much as well. And then didn't play Drummond at all in Game 6, which, you know, each to their own, I suppose, each to their own. But he did win the 2020 NBA Championship, so you got to give him a bit of leeway. He's been with the Lakers for 2 seasons, 1 championship in 2. Of course, you want 2 for 2, but, you know, he'll take it, I suppose. And I think he does deserve another year. But guys, that's the video. Laker fans, especially, what do you think? You know, every other fan of any NBA team is going to love this, that we're out. But, you know, Clippers fans, there's not many of you there, but let's be careful. You know, you're 3-2 down against the Mavericks, so I don't want to hear any Clippers fans coming here, you know, lettering the Lakers. But Laker fans, what do you think we should do? Who's got to go? I think Kuzma's got to go. Personally, I think Schroeder's got to go. I don't think he will. But what do you guys think we should do? Where did it go wrong this season? First of all, who's to blame? You know, I wouldn't go blaming AD too much either. You know, injuries are part of the game, and he's just unfortunate. He's injury prone, unfortunately. LeBron, I'm not going to go blaming him. You know, he's 36 now. Yeah, I wouldn't go blaming him either. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications. Stay notified when you upload. And yeah, you know, Lakers fans, hopefully we'll win it next year. When all said, I'm out of here.